Hello and welcome everyone to today's webinar. Thanks everyone for joining. I can see the attendee numbers are going up, so we are still having some people joining right in this moment. Perfect timing. Welcome to today's exciting webinar with the topic Successful Strategies to Entice Travelers to Book Direct. Brought to you by SiteMinder and in cooperation with Triptease. My name is Amona and I will be moderating the session today. Before we get started, I would just like to give you a few notes around the housekeeping of today's webinar and let you know how you can participate in today's session. By default, you are listening through your computer speaker system, but you also have the option to call in using your phone. So just locate your audio panel and select Use Telephone. The dial-in information and access code will be displayed for you. Throughout the session, we will have all of the attendees on mute, but you are able to ask us any kind of question using the questions panel on the control panel on the side. Simply type in your question and then click on send, and we'll try to respond as many questions as possible at the end of the presentation. We will also run some polling to keep the session engaging for you all, and we would like to have some insights from our attendees today. We want to make this webinar very interactive, so please make sure to participate. We have 45 minutes today, and in case we run out of time, we'll make sure to respond to your questions after the session. I will also like to inform you that this session will be recorded, and we will make sure that we publish the recorded webinar online shortly for you. On today's webinar, we have Charlie from Triptease. We are very happy to have you as a presenter with us today. Hello, Charlie. And we'll also...
Hello there.
Hi. Hi there.
Just making sure I was unmuted.
All good, all good. Thanks for joining. And we also have Michael from SiteMinder.
Hi, everybody.
And we are especially happy to also welcome a guest who we will hear from later on during the session is Darren, the General Manager at Velvet Hotel in Manchester, UK. Thanks, Darren, and hello, and thanks for joining.
Hello.
Right. So let's take a look at how you can attract more guests with targeted direct booking strategies. Charlie will start and give us a little introduction.
Great. Hello. Welcome all, everyone. My name is Charlie Osmond. I'm the Chief Tease at Triptease. And to get straight into it, as you well know, no doubt you see this every day yourselves, we are being bombarded like never before by advertisers, and the ability for many third-party distributors to be spending far more than hotels can means that it can be pretty tough out there when it comes to driving people direct to your website and convincing them that there are reasons why they should be booking directly. Come to the next slide, please. The really fascinating thing, and I guess something that's really excited me over the last year, has been this huge shift and effort and push by some of the largest hoteliers, the big hotel groups, and also many, many independents. Like never before, 2016 has been this sort of year of we're going to have a clear message amongst hoteliers, and that clear message is we prefer people to book direct. And I think that makes it a really fascinating and interesting moment in time, and also provides a huge amount of opportunity. You don't have to be Hilton or Marriott with their big book direct campaigns to benefit from all of this attention and conversation and spend. Clearly, there's a bit of a shift and there's some momentum. I think there's an opportunity for big and small brands to sort of seize this moment and really up their game when it comes to a book direct strategy. So yes, a huge amount of noise and conversation going on, lots of bombardment of messages to consumers, but this interesting, curious twist in the tail this year we've seen with the hotels really pushing a book direct message. So we will get on to now what are the things you can do to benefit from this moment and drive more people direct.
And what's coming up next from Michael. So in the following presentation, we will cover knowing your guest and the the types of guests that might come to your hotel, how you can reach out to your future guests, how you make or how you can get a looker become a booker. And then the further step would be from booker to repeater guest. We will also cover that it's important to know your market. And following that, we'll have tips and tricks from our hotelier on the call.
Right. So I just want to hit into this part, which is to know your guest. So an important part of your direct booking strategy is, in fact, knowing the people you're attempting to attract. So let's review this. Euromonitor's Top 10 Global Consumer Trends report identifies many groups, which it calls change makers, and among them are 6 socio-demographics that we believe hoteliers should be paying attention to in order to maximize direct bookings. So let's take a quick look at who they are. Right. So our first type of potential guests are the time-poor urbanites. Okay. When you ask people how they are, and they always reply, busy, really busy. That's who we're talking about here. They're constantly overrun with life admin, constantly frantic trying to get everyday tasks done, constantly looking for solutions that save them time. So keeping in mind, they're a time-poor group. They keep their travel options short and sweet. Hotel stays, including the use of amenities such as spas and pools, are a hit with this group, especially when it's just for the day. Now, our second group of potential guests are the social media nudgers. They like to ask brands questions, and publicly. They are fairly impatient and feel like they need to be acknowledged and answered immediately. In today's age of multitasking across multiple devices, guests are increasingly turning to online channels such as Facebook and Twitter to ask a question. Often they've already tried other means of contact, such as calling your property, and as a result could be frustrated and demanding. I think we've all encountered that at one point or another. The third type of potential guests are the sleep-deprived travelers. Modern day working hours, late night TV, and of course our mobile devices are all resulting in travelers sleeping less than ever before. Statistics show that now we get 1.5 to 2 hours less sleep per night than previous generations. And this group of travelers regards sleep as a lifestyle choice instead of categorizing it with equally important diet and exercise regimes. Hotels are jumping on the snooze bandwagon in order to sell sleep to guests. The Four Seasons in the US, for example, has soundproofed rooms and turn-down services that include soft music and temperature control. The MGM Grand in Las Vegas uses dawn simulators to gently wake guests, and the Benjamin Hotel in New York offers a phone call an hour before bedtime just to remind guests, turn off your devices, prepare for sleep. So it's interesting stuff. Our fourth potential guest segment is the baby boomers. The energized baby boomers might be perceived as the alternative solution to expensive childcare for grandchildren. However, they're increasingly active. They enjoy keeping busy and like to use their money to book holidays and cultural excursions in new destinations. Okay. The World Tourism Organization predicts that by 2030, there will be 30 million over 65s traveling overseas from the Asia Pacific region alone. Travel brands and hotels are tapping into the potential. So from cruise companies to luxury hotel brands, marketing to senior citizens has become increasingly valued. One example is Warner Hotels in the UK, which doesn't even allow guests under the age of 21, preferring to market to older people who the company says crave their me time. All right. Now, our fifth potential guest segment is the spending singles. So with no children and increased freedom, the spending singles have a higher disposable income. They enjoy living like big spenders. They have fewer commitments and lifestyle that centers on convenience. Focusrite research shows that 70% of all 18 to 34-year-olds took a leisure trip in 2014. And these are numbers that the global hotel industry is paying attention to. Best Western has its brand, Glow, offering smaller rooms with free high-speed internet. Starwoods Aloft offers emoji-based room service, Wi-Fi for working poolside, and a menu with a hangover kit. which is vitamin, water, Advil, and bananas, for those of you who are wondering.
I like banana.
Yeah. So now, finally, we have the solo travelers. Now, primarily considered to be explorers, this group goes on holiday in search of life-changing experiences and adventures. With 25% of adults having never married or are now divorced or widowed, the solo travelers are turning to hotel and travel brands to help them meet others and experience different cultures. So connecting is a big draw for the solo travelers. Some more figures for you on that. A 2015 review of singles holidays in the British newspaper, The Telegraph, revealed that tour companies were experiencing a surge in solo travelers, with some small companies reporting an increase by as much as 50%. Moxie, which is a hotel group by Marriott, is another great example of a brand appealing to the solo travelers, with facilities such as lively common areas for socializing.
And we would like to know which of these 6 types of guests that we've just seen in the last few slides do you recognize? If you have the impression that you know who hotel guests are, which of these 6 types do you recognize from them? So I'm launching the poll again. Hopefully you'll all be able to see. And please choose between one of the following.
Yeah, you can.
We've grouped together the spending singles and the solo travelers here. They might be similar, and this is going to be very interesting. %50 have voted so far amongst all the attendees on the call.
Yeah, I'm really glad we've started in this way, Michael, thinking about guests, because I think so often when people are talking about what can I do to drive direct bookings, the immediate sort of knee-jerk reaction is, what are the tactics, the tricks, the quick fixes that I can make? And it's far too easy to ignore. Well, it kind of depends on your audience, and relating the sort of the strategies to your audience is going to be a far more effective way of doing it in the long term.
Absolutely, absolutely, and couldn't agree more. I mean, you will have, as I mentioned, like some of these example of hotels, who actually know who it is that they're pitching to, the guests they want to cultivate. I mean, it just makes it easier for them to fill the rooms when they're pitching to the guests that they're catering to.
Yeah.
Right, we have all of our answers in, and I've just closed the poll and would like to share the results. And I can tell you that 70% of you said, I'm recognizing the energized aging baby boomers. 70%, that is very high, followed by 46% of the time poor urbanites, 44% social media nudgers. And then lower percentages we can see here amongst spending singles, solo travelers, or the sleep deprived travelers. So the baby boomers are winning here.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. All right.
Beautiful. We have one more poll for all of our attendees a little bit later in the session. So we'll carry on with the slides, with the presentation, and we are talking about reaching out.
Yeah, great. So thank you, Michael, for introducing some audiences and forcing us all to stop and think about who we're serving. So, and then what? What are the actual things that hotels could be or should be doing to actually get more of these people to book direct?
No, absolutely. So yeah, so let's have a look. So there we go. So we have to get guests to the website.
Yeah, and one thought on that, actually, that immediately jumps from what you were saying about audiences, that I've seen a number of hotels do very successfully, is utilize Facebook custom audiences as a great way of getting people to your website. So the way that works is, if you have, let's say, 10,000 visitors who've come to your hotel before and you know their email addresses, you can upload those email addresses into Facebook. And Facebook will then identify, and you can do the same, there's a similar program on Google. Facebook will then identify people who look like the audience you've already had. So if you are very strong on baby boomers and you upload your list of 10,000 baby boomer emails into Facebook, it will then allow you to target and advertise specifically to people who look just like the guests who visited you before. And that won't just be demographics of age, it will also be, they live in the same state or have a similar postcode or a similar earning power. So it's a great way of getting more people of the type that enjoy your hotel.
Yeah, sure, sure, absolutely. And Charlie, we did speak a little bit about more meta search options and things like that, and you had some interesting ideas. Did you want to hit into any of that?
I mean, yeah, sure. I think meta search is probably the other really interesting way that hotels, sort of in the last year, have been successfully driving new guests to their website. The metas have all worked really hard in the last couple of years to create programs that are hotel friendly and that actually help hoteliers get people to their site. But I think that people are getting very different results depending on the meta. So you kind of need to experiment, and also that will depend slightly upon where in the world your hotel is. So I was just looking at a survey someone gave me, and he found that they've been, for example, with Trivago, they've managed to have a very low cost per click of around $1 per person, whereas on Google hotel ads they might be spending more like $4 per click. So there are real varieties in the success of Meta depending on which one you try, but certainly I think it's a very efficient way of finding people who are in market and interested in booking.
All right. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think another part of it as well is, with regards to hotel websites, just providing a seamless, user-friendly booking experience. Just turning those lookers to bookers, I think is a big deal when it comes to conversions, and just keeping it direct as opposed to having them go off to another site to book the hotel. One thing, I mean, as far as the website and things like that go, is just on the sales cycle, research found 13% of the time guests abandon their bookings because the booking process is too long or the checkout process is too complicated. So with your website and booking engine, it's important to make sure that you give guests a simple booking process, seamless integration with your booking engine, a quick and easy payment process, and include the option for multiple currencies and language. And then cater to the increase in mobile device bookings. Speaking of that, I did actually, the number on here is different than what I had thought it was. So I've actually been operating off of like a 40%, but it's actually a T News article that I had read where they'd reported on Google's recent mobile findings. So mobile is now being used just as much as desktops are for the entire travel booking journey. Smartphone use triggered a mobile booking 35% of the time. So I was about 5% off. I don't feel too bad. But all demographics have shown an increase in mobile devices, even baby boomers, who is a pretty high number
Yeah. Sorry, so absolutely, mobile is a key focus. There was one point on the slide before I just wanted to bring out because I fear otherwise people may think we've just flown over it, which is, we talked a little bit there about how do you actually bring people to your website, and mentioned custom audiences, mentioned meta search, and there are other ways. That's not the key focus of the webinar today, and one of the reasons why it's, I guess, neither the key focus of the webinar nor of Triptease or SiteMinder is because the majority of OTA bookers, most people will come to your website at some point during their journey. Now, that's not true if they're on a business trip and they're booking last minute for one night and they just want to do something really quickly. They're much more likely to use mobile, to book via an OTA, and that's it. But most people, particularly if they're taking a vacation or they're traveling somewhere for a few days, they are coming to your site. And that's one of the reasons why we're putting most of our emphasis here on, given that people will come because they want more information, they want more photos, they will come to your site. That, I believe, is the sort of the best opportunity to increase direct bookings. And you're probably better off focusing on those that arrive at your site than you are on just trying to get people. Now, that doesn't fit everyone, but I just wanted to explain that's why our focus here is mostly about the things you can control on your own domain.
Sure. Sorry. Sure. No, absolutely. Absolutely. And, the OTAs have an amazing power to bring hotel guests to the doors. So I don't want to discount that. Absolutely, book direct on the website. That's what we want. But I just also want to hit into that, the OTAs are not the enemy. Basically, just using them to market, work with them. As a hotelier, you may have many ways to retain these bookers. But once they get through the door, then it's up to you to manage that guest relationship, to get them to come back to you again. Especially with the high numbers of some of these OTAs that provide a large percent of the reservations going into the hotels. We put it back on the hotels, own that relationship, show them the customer service, show them how wonderful the hotel can be for them, and maybe even give them incentives to come back and book direct to you next time.
Absolutely. Yes, I agree that OTAs are not the enemy. However, I think that sometimes, because hotels haven't got their act together with their website, their booking engine, what happens is OTAs end up converting many bookers who are not incremental. And so there are occasions where hotels are, I believe, spending a lot of money in commissions when someone would have quite happily and would have preferred to book direct on the hotel website. So it's less OTA enemy and maybe more hotels' own enemy, having not optimized their website. And we just carried out some research. I don't know if we could pop forwards the next couple of slides, looking at, well, why is it then that people are coming to the hotel website? They're coming, they're looking at photos, they're getting more information, they're even checking the direct price, and then they're leaving. Why are they choosing to book via OTAs? And we asked a couple of thousand OTA bookers, what was the reason you didn't book direct? And we found that, the first one is they assume that it was a cheaper price on the OTA. Now, actually, we have evidence that demonstrates that that's not anymore the case. It maybe was the case 5 years ago, but now hotels are far more likely to be in parity or even cheaper direct than via the OTA. But that misperception of price is a key reason why people are booking elsewhere. Another one, of course, a very obvious one, is that the OTAs are fabulous websites. They're amazing conversion machines, and they make it very easy to book, very easy to put in your credit card details. So anyway, here are a few things that you should be thinking about, but two that really stand out that at the moment probably are key reasons why people are being driven to third-party distributors as opposed to booking direct. And I should add, one of the other questions we asked was, we asked the OTA bookers, where do you think, where would you prefer to book? And where do you believe you get a better overall experience? And people said, actually, I prefer to book direct. I believe that if I book direct, I get a better experience in the hotel. The OTA bookers were saying that, but their actions were still leading them off to book elsewhere. So these guests want to book direct, if only we can fix a couple of things. So next slide, please. If I can see if I can request control. And so one of the questions that I saw, we just put this slide in at the last minute because I saw a question being asked by one of the people on this webinar, which was, well, we want to offer an incentive, we want to offer a reason for people to book direct, because incentives feels like one clear way of shifting behavior. So we also asked people, well, what incentive, what reward would you most value? And as you can see, a room upgrade, free Wi-Fi coming at the top there. Interestingly, something we've noticed a lot in this last year is these are kind of the obvious, the standard incentives. In a way, they're the easy ones to say you want in a survey. But we're beginning to see more quirky and innovative and interesting incentives being offered by hoteliers. So, for example, one hotel we work with, they're now offering the first dive lesson is free because they have a diving school there. They see that as a great way of driving people to actually utilize the diving school, but also a really nice book direct incentive. And we have another hotel who offers a free pineapple in your room if you book direct. And what I quite like about the slightly more quirky and interesting ones is, again, it reminds the consumers and it gives the consumers that clear message. We as the hotel would prefer you to book direct. And maybe, arguably, with the pineapple, for example, it's not about specifically the value of the reward, it's the fact that the hotel's asking you to, I think might actually move some behavior from some people. Anyway, so that's incentives is one way, but really what I want to talk about very quickly are what are the ways we can address those other two key reasons that people are booking elsewhere. So one is to do with the website and how it works. And how engaging it is. So here you can see a kind of a pop-up message. I'm sure you've seen these as you go around the web and you're about to leave a website. So depending on your conversion rate, but let's say 96% of people who come to your website today are leaving. They are leaving and they're not converting. And one of the really successful ways that e-commerce sites over the last few years have managed to increase conversion is by providing an offer, a tailored offer or a tailored message to guests when they're leaving. So what we do is monitor guest behavior, and depending on whether they've searched for rooms, whether they're looking to, whether you can tell they're about to book in the next 24 hours or that it looks like they're about to book in the next week, serve them a different message if they're leaving. And you can get a really considerable increase in conversion by preventing people from leaving. So that's sort of abandonment, exit, cart abandonment messaging. And we're seeing, and there are many providers of this kind of service, and it can have a really great impact. Next slide, please. So another way we've seen hoteliers, and actually we Triptease help hotels address what I talked about earlier, the price misperception, the belief by consumers that it is cheaper on the OTA than it is direct, is just by being transparent. So this is price check here. You can see a widget appearing on this mobile site that shows here is the direct price and here's how it compares to 3 OTAs. And it's not about being cheaper than OTAs. It's merely about showing people you are not being bettered by them. It is the same price. You have parity. And just by doing that, independents, we see 20, 30% uplifts in conversion. It's just addressing the single biggest reason why people are leaving a website and booking elsewhere. So it's a very simple solution. Some booking engines have got it built in, or you can work with someone like us to provide it, but it just addresses that key reason why they leave.
Yeah. Sure.
And sorry.
No.
And I'll give you one more idea, and this one is a new one and something we're just playing with. But when we think about the battle to get people to book direct with hotels, we're always thinking, well, what is it that hotels can offer that a third-party distributor cannot? And the one thing that hoteliers really have beyond anyone else is knowledge of their property, knowledge of the experience, and an ability to deliver a really human service. And an extraordinary shift has happened over the last couple of years online and how people use mobile in particular. A shift away from social media towards messaging, and people are wanting to message. And the great thing about messaging and our use of things like WhatsApp is that it's a very human behavior, and you're having a conversation with someone. So what we've built on is very early testing, and we're just trying it out. And if you're interested, please let me know. But we believe that this is going to have a really big impact for hotels. Is really trying to bring to the fore not just live chat, which you've seen already, and I know, and there's a lot of hotels using that to good effect, but actually putting rich media, rich content into that conversation. So, do you have a kids club? Yes, sure, here's a video of the kids club. And actually putting rich content, imagery, and the like into a conversational experience so the hotelier can start interacting and have a direct relationship with the guest before they even turn up at the property. So anyway, this is the kind of thing that we think is coming in the future. It's probably perhaps not ready for everyone straight away, but we think that hotels are getting much more innovative now in the ways they're trying to create a better guest experience, a more human experience on their site. And this is the kind of thing that we expect to see more of.
Sure, absolutely. And just hitting in on some of what you were saying there, I mean, with the way that hoteliers are able to, on this slide as an example, from booker to repeater, just getting the hoteliers to offer, these programs. If we can go to the next slide, I'll hit into some of that. So, once you've got the guest in there, just keeping them coming back with things like, reward the loyalty, like offer exclusive deals, promo codes if possible, loyalty schemes, those kind of things. Train staff to note all personal preferences. What did they order the last time they came in? Now here they are again. Really keeping in touch with them, explore email marketing. I think that you brought that up earlier as well. These are all really important things because, the OTAs will drive a large part of these reservations to the hotel, but then it's just a matter of making the experience such that they want to come back, and they want to come back to you directly.
And two very tactical tips that I've seen on that one. The first one is actually what's measured is done is a old adage that is true, and we've seen some hotels who just track, well, how many emails did we capture from guests who checked in today? And by merely measuring that metric on a weekly basis, it helps make sure that everyone on the front at the front of house is thinking about making sure they're capturing emails. And another tip I've seen hotels use is, depending on the distribution partner who brought a guest in. If perhaps a guest booked the first time via an OTA, then that guest might get a little message on their bed saying, if you come back next time, a repeat visitor, then we have an incentive for you to come direct. So targeting specific guests to make sure you move them to direct for their next visit.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then just coming into this last little bit here, Charlie, I just wanted to hit into knowing the market, which is an important one. So what this means is, as a hotelier, sometimes it's not a bad idea to know what the hotels around you are doing, and just check what your competitor pricing is to ensure the best rate for you. And really, it's not saying that you need to match these prices. It's not saying that you need to be the same price to compete. I mean, obviously, you're offering different levels of service, maybe as an example, but it's one of these things where it is something that's growing in the market, the whole rate shopper, the whole knowing what everyone is doing around you. And it's something that it couldn't hurt, this business intelligence of knowing exactly why guests are going to other hotels and potentially not coming to yours.
Yeah, I think it's really key. And I was speaking to the CEO of one of London's most prestigious hotels the other day, and she said she felt now the most important job in the hotel is the revenue manager, and tracking other people's rates and making sure you're not behind the curve on key dates, I think is essential. And there's another thing that's we found has been worth tracking is identifying which OTAs and how frequently are undercutting you. So again, obviously OTAs, great partners, but you also need to just monitor them and track them. There are some out there, I'm sure you've experienced this yourself, who are undercutting you. And the problem with that is it continues this misperception that the hotel direct site is never the best place to buy. And so we've seen by hoteliers managing, and this is like a tool which we use by managing the looking every day at what are my guests booking, and for the rates that my guests are searching for, what are our rates around the web, and then going off to the OTAs who are breaking parity and saying, look, I'm sorry, we've caught you again, you need to stop this, can very quickly have a really big impact on getting back to parity, and that drives up conversion because consumers find these prices. If these prices are cheaper around the web, consumers will find them. So you just got to make sure that they're not.
Absolutely, absolutely. Mona actually has another poll for you guys.
I do, the last one for today. And then I also want to speak a little bit to our guest, Darren. Before we do that, the last poll, we want to ask you, which of the tactics, any kind of strategics, would you implement to drive more direct bookings? I'm launching the poll now, and just have a little quick think of one of the three options, which one you would like to answer. I can see the answers coming in fast. That's amazing.
Wow, I'm watching the numbers go up here.
Yeah.
Wow.
And while we do that, one of the things that we didn't speak about, but actually I've got to say, personally, privately, I really love about SiteMinder is the something that we're seeing a lot more across the web now is hoteliers who previously had a very disjointed experience between their CMS, their website, and the booking process. That is now becoming very much integrated, and there are companies like SiteMinder who are providing both of those services, and I think that creates a much better experience and also drives up conversion. So I expect to see, in a few years, that separation that we know from the past will just, I think, disappear.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thanks for that. Thanks for that endorsement.
That's right.
Right, I'm going to share the results. I can see them here. Unfortunately, I can't share on the screen, but I can tell you that 78% of you said that they would review the booking experience. So everything that could maybe influence the booking experience that the guest could have. I would like to now bring Darren into the conversation, our guest from the Velvet Hotel. And we would like to know straight away from you, please, how do you actually manage your direct bookings?
I mean, it's a tough job, but I would say that communication is key, and the timing of that communication and when you actually put it to the guests along the booking process. Because we're always wanting to increase direct bookings, obviously, for for obvious reason. But it's a fine balance between the exposure and the billboard effect that you can get from OTAs and encouraging potential bookers direct. Most of the time we are obligated to offer rate parity, and so just offering straightforward discounts is not always possible. However, there are, which has already been mentioned, lots of other ways that hotels can encourage direct bookings.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen a shift in the booking behavior of your guests?
Well, actually, yes. I mean, recently we have seen an increase in direct bookings, but that's because we've been driving that quite positively. But OTAs are still going very, very strong. And people are still using them more, I think, than direct bookings somehow, because people are easily swayed, and they're really tech savvy now, so they'll use the tools that they have online to seek out the cheapest rate, however small the difference in the rate would be, or even the loyalty rewards that OTAs offer. People just go for that because it might be habit for them to do so. So we just need to find a strategy that breaks that.
Yeah, very true. I'm just looking at the time, and because Michael and Charlie have been discussing this industry's hot topic, we are shortly going to run out of time. I
Sorry
just
about
wanted,
that.
but that's absolutely fine. Keeps it interesting. Just want to be aware that we're running out of time soon. So I'm looking at the questions that our dear webinar attendees have asked during the last 40 minutes. Thanks for everyone who has submitted questions in the meantime, and I would like to read out some of those. For example, is actually directed to Darren, in case maybe you have a tip there. And the question is, what's your biggest tip? And that might be a big question for hoteliers on our call who wish to increase their direct bookings.
The biggest tip, I would say, I mean, if going on our experience over the last 12 months, is to use the tools that SiteMinder are offering, such as the channel manager, having a good website, and keeping the communication with guests who have already stayed with you open, keeping that regular with using mailers, and simplifying the booking process for returning guests, because that's sometimes overlooked. Returning guests will, you've already got their contact details, so that you can use that to get them to book with you again next time.
Yes.
New customers, not so much, but definitely the returning guests.
Right. Yeah. Just keeping in touch, basically, keep the relationship.
Yeah, but managing so that you don't overdo it, because people will stop listening if you keep shouting.
Yeah, very true, very true. I have another question here, and maybe Michael would like to cover that. And the question is, how would you define more what is the, and that was mentioned in the 6 types of guests, right? The time poor guest. So the guest that doesn't have much time, and what can you offer them?
Yeah, sure. So you mean like better defining who they are type thing?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I am personally a member of this group, I feel. It's just the people that really don't have time for a long vacation. They just want to be able to get away for maybe a couple of days or a weekend break. So it's very much a case of when they do arrive, they're all about, as I said before, amenities, spas, pools, saunas, something that's going to take the stress away for even the shortest period of time, so that when they go back to work on Monday, they're refreshed, they're revitalized, they're ready to hit the world running.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can I throw in another one for time poor guests? I always have enjoyed using whenever we do sort of look at web design, the sort of traditional Google way of checking what your web design looks like is roll your chair back 10 feet at least, if not 10 meters away from the screen you're looking at, and then work out, what is this screen trying to tell me? A time poor guest is trying to make a decision on what they're looking at on your website or on their mobile screen in milliseconds. And the only way to kind of most easily get a feeling of that is, as I say, go really far away from your computer, then look at your website and say, what is the thing that really jumps out at me? And if it's not book now, book, book immediately, and it's taking you on some circuitous path, or it's just not clear what the single call to action is for the page, then that's probably a great place to focus effort.
Yeah, absolutely, Charlie. And I've got another question here that you might be best placed to ask. I was just going to say, so one of the hotels is asking, what's your opinion on using search engine optimization for direct bookings?
I think it's a slightly tricky one because you're up against and a lot of distributors and people like TripAdvisor who've spent a fortune and a huge amount of time building backlinks and amazingly well optimized sites. So there's definitely an important role for SEO. I think the key is really understanding where you're at the moment and how grand an ambition you can have. Because for example, if you're in New York, trying to become the #1 hotel that comes up when someone puts New York hotels, you haven't really got a chance because it'll be just full of OTA results. But being really specific and at least making sure that you've got your brand terms coming up first, I think that is something that's well worth spending some time on. I mean, really, in a sense, the great time of SEO has slowly disappeared in the last 4 years because Google has just changed the way it ranks. It used to be that you were on the front page of Google because your site was the best. Now, the front page of Google is mostly adverts, and most of the natural results are kind of pushed down the page. So it's less important than it used to be, but obviously for your key brand terms, the name of your hotel, you do want to put some effort in.
Absolutely, yeah.
We'll have loads more questions coming in as we speak from the attendees on the webinar. Question for Darren. How often do you actually compare your pricing with other hoteliers in your region?
Yeah, we compare our pricing regularly more now, up to 3 times a day. Essentially, we do it morning, afternoon, and evening, just to see what our competitive set are doing and make adjustments accordingly.
Do you see that as very important? Yeah.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Okay, and I did see 2 or 3 questions earlier in regards to languages or working on the website and keeping it also maybe attractive for people in other regions. So how do you balance, or do you balance reaching guests outside of your region or maybe even international guests?
Well, it's much the same when you're working online. It's the same strategy, somewhat irrespective of their location.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you find, I mean, just on that, do you find that using online travel agents to market in key regions like Russia, they have their own travel site that's masking there, and maybe China. Do you find that by getting your hotel across these sites to at least bring the guests into your hotel for a potential direct booking on the next time, do you find that as part of your strategy?
Oh, certainly, yes. I mean, there are particular third-party OTAs that we use that we know because they're strong in the Asian markets or even American markets, and we're on there for that reason, to bring that pool of people to us. And then that's when our strategy kicks in to obviously give the guest a good experience, but also get them to return to us, but book directly.
Perfect.
Very nice. Thanks for all of these insights, Darren. We have actually come to the end of our webinar, unfortunately, because I think we would be able to talk about this a lot more than just 45 minutes. Yeah, I'm very happy to see this. This was a very interesting topic. There's lots to talk about, and I'm sure there's more to come in this direction in our industry. As mentioned in the very beginning, the questions that we couldn't cover right now, we're happy to answer these afterwards personally. And we also have the recording of this webinar ready for you very soon online. I would love to thank everyone, all the participants, all the attendees to joining our webinar today. We hope you found it very interesting and insightful. I would love to also thank Darren again from the Velvet Hotel to joining us today and answer a couple of our questions.
No problem. Thank you.
Thanks also to Charlie, who is actually, I think, in New York right now, and we are in the UK, so a very international webinar. Thanks as well for your time and for your presentation.
No problem. No problem. Thank you.
And also thanks to Michael from SiteMinder for your presentation as well.
No worries. Pleasure.
Thanks for joining. We will be in touch shortly with you, and we'll surely have more webinars to come in the near future. So watch this space. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone, and we'll hope to see you soon attending one of our webinars. Bye.
Bye.